Just about everyone has seen SRT on some of the most powerful vehicles of the modern era, but what does it actually stand for? Turns out there's a deeper story behind that iconic acronym. SRT stands for Street and Racing Technology, and it has been the official name of Chrysler's performance division since 2004, though its origins go back even further. The SRT division brought us the Hellcat and Hellcat Red-Eye, some truly wild Dodge Vipers, and even a neat little Neon or two. It has garnered a reputation as deep and well-deserved as any muscle-era monster, but with the age of the internal combustion engine drawing to a close, what's next for the venerable performance division? Gas crises and environmental regulations crushed the American muscle car industry. By the early 1970s, the fun was nearly over. Remember the Mustang II?
Because it's small, even smaller than the original Mustang, but built with jewel-like quality, unexpected luxury.
That was just the beginning. By the late 1980s, American car manufacturing had seen better days, but the Chrysler Corporation was in potentially mortal danger until Chrysler President Bob Lutz struck on an idea while driving his Autocraft Mk4 Shelby Cobra. What if Chrysler built its own Cobra? The Dodge K-Car and Plymouth Reliant weren't exactly known for speed or handling. If Chrysler wanted to get into the performance game, something would have to change. Lutz handed the baton to Chrysler Chief of Design Tom Gale sometime in 1989. A few months later, Gale handed it back as a clay model, and Lutz greenlit what would become one of the most legendary cars of the 90s, the Dodge Viper. Lutz appointed a team of race-oriented engineers and designers to Team Viper, a new project within Chrysler whose mission was to turn the clay model into a ripping, snorting reality. The first-generation Dodge Viper appeared in 1992 with a V10 engine and little else. It was a drivetrain with wheels and seats, and it was spectacular. However, Chrysler was only scratching the surface in the performance game. With the Viper turning heads and tearing up drag strips, Dodge had a start in turning its reputation around. But if Tom Gale caught the car world's attention with the Viper, he had something else up his sleeve, the Plymouth Prowler. The two-seat, open-wheeled, out-of-nowhere homage to the hot rods of the 1930s was polarizing to say the least. An entry-level sports car aimed at the youth market, the Prowler had a 3.5-liter V6 that produced 214 horsepower. It wasn't fast enough to be racy, and not practical enough to be the hybrid daily driver performance vehicle that young customers would clamor for. Front-wheel drive and no manual transmission option only clouded the issue.
Well, it's not exactly for everyone, is it?
That's kind of the point.
The market spoke, and the Prowler ceased production in 2002 after just 5 years, but Chrysler was already looking ahead. The failure of the Plymouth Prowler proved a stepping stone toward the arrival of SRT and the insane Mopar performance revivals of the 21st century. It was just as well that the bulk of Chrysler's performance engineers gathered in one place, because a war was on the horizon. Ford and General Motors were not sitting idly by while Chrysler worked out how to find its performance fee. An arms race loomed between the big three, and the winners would be the car-buying public. Chrysler called the Special Vehicle Engineering Division into battle in June 1998, tapping John Fernandez, former factory liaison to Carroll Shelby, to lead up the blandly named department. Fernandez promptly informed the 100-plus specialists under his command that most would likely be out of a job if they did not produce something other than the second-generation Viper on the drawing board. Chrysler didn't have enough performance work for everyone, so SVE would make some. First, it would change its name to Performance Vehicle Operations, or PVO, to differentiate itself from Ford's Special Vehicle Engineering Department. Then, it would go about souping up Chrysler's production cars. To ensure everyone knew where Chrysler's performance was made, each PVO vehicle would get a special classification to denote its devotion to street and racing technology, SRT. The PVO's first attempt to do something special wouldn't center around the Viper, but on a somewhat less likely candidate. The first vehicle to wear the SRT badge was not a Challenger, Viper, or Prowler. It wasn't even a V8. It was far more humble. The early 2000s was a time of transition in the car world. The halcyon days of the muscle era were long over, and the dark ages of the 80s and 90s were slipping into the rear view when the Fast and Furious film franchise lit a fire in 2001.
Ask any racer, any real racer. It don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.
Suddenly, the appeal of small displacement 4-cylinders skyrocketed. In the middle of all this sat the PVO division and its mandate to make production Chrysler vehicles cool. The result was the 2003 Dodge Neon SRT4. Dodge had been making the Neon, a gas-sipping compact, since 1995. The base 1.6-liter 2003 Neon made 116 horsepower, but the new SRT4 made 230 horsepower. Those numbers may seem quaint compared to today's dyno ratings, but doubling a vehicle's available horsepower? Yes, please. The Neon SRT4 received the positive attention Chrysler hoped for. Its success gave the PVO enough juice to pursue even more ambitious projects. In 2004, Chrysler changed the division's name yet again. Henceforth, it would be known as the Street and Racing Technology Division, SRT. The fifth-generation Ford Mustang splashed onto the scene in 2004 with timeless vintage styling that harkened back to the glory days of pony performance. To say it turned heads would be an understatement. Demand for the throwback Mustang was so strong that within 5 years, GM and Chrysler brought some of their most beloved nameplates back from the dead, including the Chevrolet Camaro. The debut of the Mustang reminded everyone why they loved muscle in the first place, but could these new cars live up to the reputation of America's favorites? Gas efficiency and government regulation still precluded the beefy big blocks of yesteryear. Could modern technology put enough fun into the revived offerings to live up to the legacy of muscle's finest hour? Unbeknownst to the average Joe at the time, that answer was a resounding yes. Technology had finally caught up to the desires of muscle heads everywhere. The SRT team at Daimler Chrysler knew just what to do with them. If the Mustang's debut marked the beginning of an arms race, the SRT team was ready. Bolstered by the buzz of the SRT4, the division wanted to see what would happen if they put different numbers at the end of its new acronym. The 6, 8, and 10 denote the number of cylinders in the engine. The SRT assured buyers that they were getting the beastliest vehicles Chrysler could cough up. By the end of 2006, Chrysler had an impressive array of SRT vehicles. The third-generation 2003 Viper SRT10 got a displacement bump to 8.3 liters. Just in case anyone was concerned there wasn't room for big blocks anymore. The race was on, literally and figuratively. The big three wanted to chew each other up on the racetrack as much as on the sales floor. The Chrysler Crossfire showed up in 2004 with a turbocharged 3.2-liter SRT6 under the hood. The Dodge Challenger nameplate returned hand in hand with a Chrysler 300C SRT8 in 2010. Dodge introduced an SRT10 Ram. Even Jeep got in on the action with an SRT Grand Cherokee. These cars were not just for show. The Crossfire was at the bottom end of the power list with 335 horsepower. The 300C made 425 and the Viper 500. The days of choking a Fox body Mustang with a 4-banger or rocking the street in a detuned IROC Z were over. The SRT team had a chance to forge a new legacy and a new century, a shot they would not miss. Like all races, the race for supremacy in the new muscle era took a while to settle into a steady running order. Alongside increasingly powerful Fords and Chevys, Chrysler's SRT packages grew ever more powerful. However, it's time to address the elephant in the room. When exactly did the SRT team lose its collective mind? According to our research, it was right about when Chrysler decided to consolidate the SRT division vehicles under the Dodge banner. From 2014 on, SRT would focus all its power on Dodge nameplates. And it was about the same time that it announced the Hellcat. An engine with 400 horsepower didn't raise the eyebrows it used to, but SRT didn't want to raise eyebrows. It sought to drop jaws. The Challenger SRT Hellcat was a $60,000 muscle car that would set the bar for the final phase of the muscle renaissance. Slated to debut in 2015 alongside the Charger Hellcat, it would be top of the line in all respects, from interior comforts to premium power. The unlikely promises incurred skepticism, but when Dodge began delivering Hellcat Challengers and Chargers to customers in November 2014, the cynics had to bite their tongues. Somehow, the people at SRT had lived up to the promises. Beneath the hood of both cars was a 6.2-liter supercharged Hemi V8, claiming 707 horsepower, ready to take on all comers.
That thing got a Hemi? Yeah. Sweet.
The Hellcats were a cut above anything else out there. The 2015 Mustang GT offered 435 horsepower, and the 2015 Camaro SS had 426 horsepower. The Hellcats reset the markets for pure power, and the deal could not be beaten for a 2015 MSRP of $60,000. The Hellcat was an instant success, but SRT wasn't done. 2015 was only the beginning for the Hellcat, and with the overwhelmingly positive response from the auto world, the performance division had the green light to go nuts, and nuts they went. With a head start in the horsepower battle, SRT had only itself to beat. In 2018, SRT did it again with an 840 horsepower SRT Challenger dubbed the Demon. It was the first production car to lift the front wheels with stock equipment. It disappeared almost as quickly as it arrived, but 5 years later, the ultimate expression of SRT appeared in the dusk of the ICE era. The 2023 Dodge Challenger SRT Demon 170 may be the ultimate expression of the American V8 power. SRT admitted to blowing up several engines during development, but it was worth it. On E85, the 170 cracks the 4-digit barrier with a mind-melting 1,025 horsepower. Even on pump gas, it still makes 900. The shape of the car world changed in 2021 when Peugeot SA and Fiat Chrysler automobiles merged under the name Stellantis. Would SRT have room in the new corporate configuration? Furthermore, does its ethos have a place in the burgeoning world of EVs? With the release of the Hellcat and SRT Viper, SRT became synonymous with brutish internal combustion. So, is there room left for that in the modern car world? The answer is that auto enthusiasts will always seek more power. The age of internal combustion may be on the wane, but SRT has built a sterling reputation for finding power wherever possible. The people who committed to maximizing a Dodge Neon will hopefully embrace the new options. For Dodge's beloved performance division, hybrid power and battery plug-ins are definitely in the future. It may not sit well with old-school muscle fun, but what form cars will take in the future remains to be seen. It's impossible to say what the future holds, but as long as people love the biggest, baddest cars available, there will always be room for SRT.